Welcome, welcome. And what a contrast to come from Delhi to Doha. And so eager to be joining almost all of you actually in North Carolina soon. And everyone is welcome. So in the space of those brief moments of meditation, almost always something comes through that wants to be said, and I don't know for who, but it's like this: if you are entering the mystical, it is important to withdraw from all kinds of media and Netflix and YouTube. It's important to eat well and to exercise and to be in nature. Just for a time, anyway. And you'll see the clearer that we get in meditation, the more we sort of abide in a walking, talking, meditative state called Sahaja, the more you'll see that all of the things that we imbibe through the eyes and ears, through all of the senses, touch and smell, taste, all of the things that we imbibe, they leave impressions in the mind. And impressions are a bit like they're pathways. They're like pathways that are open invitations to the things that are resonating in those particular frequencies. So when you enter this, maybe even a little before, you can withdraw from just the more sort of basic stimulus. Eventually, the yogis say that they move into something called Pratyahara, which is a total withdrawal of all the senses. In the Mandukya Karika, it talks about 19 mouths. Means 19 connections between the eye sense and the world. So we know of 5 senses, maybe 6. There are quite a few more, apparently. And ultimately, it's good practice, all of this anyway. I mean, it's never a bad idea to eat well and to not consume garbage with your eyes and ears. But ultimately, each one of you, each one of us will come to a place of pratyahara, of withdrawal. And that is, according to yogis, the precursor to samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi. The place where you and bliss are not different. But this will be a natural course for each of you who participate in these satsangs, is wading deeper and deeper into a more expansive, maybe you could say mystical experience directly in your own in your own direct experience. And this is just good advice when that begins to happen, and good advice even before. One thing, as I was entering some years ago, entering this crossing, this traverse, it came through so loud and clear. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Discernment becomes increasingly important. Okay. That's what do they call that? A public interest announcement? Public service announcement. Yes. Maybe I'll put a Schoolhouse Rock song to that. Maybe some of you are too young to know Schoolhouse Rock. Okay. I went to the Museum of Islamic Art, MIA. Was it Johnny? Was it you that suggested that for me? Yes, thank you. Wow. I must say, Doha is such an interesting place, but there's a really incredible vibe here. And it was kind of fun because as I was walking through, there's some really early copies of the Quran. And it's not something I can describe so well, but so many of the things that I saw were pointing to the cave of the heart, to the Bhajan Kutir. Even the way that they designed the pages of the Quran, and it would be hard for me to explain, but there's designs and they bring you into the text. And then the text itself is and then you can zoom in, and in the text is more design, and it's so incredible that the expression of it is at least as profound as the words, although of course I couldn't read them. But everything is pointing you to the cave of your own heart. The Kunja Bihari, I think. Is that right, Deepti? Is that yeah. The bridal chamber. Yes. Friday, I think we talked about undam pindam. In Tamil, that means microcosm, macrocosm. You might be able to find it. I must have heard it somewhere. I know it was Swami Satchidananda talking undam pindam, and then I incorporated it into some of my teachings when I was still at Yogaville. And you might be able to find it on YouTube or something, I don't know. Microcosm, macrocosm. And Johnny, you were just in Yogaville, yeah? Wonderful. I spent so much time in Chidambaram. Every morning, 8 a.m. Just in the posture of surrender. It's a powerful spot. The last satsang from abroad. Who will bring the first reflection? Krishna Priya. Good morning.
Good morning. I was watching a Satsang with Muji yesterday, which is on YouTube, but I don't think that's what you mean. And a contemplation from a Sangha member. I don't remember exactly what the trail of it was, but it led to the offering of Muji saying that the thinker is also a thought. And the mind just like clinches around this. It just like logically, sure, of course. But to go really into it and really like try to find that is true, there's a short circuit that's happening. It's like this mental, it's very uncomfortable, but it feels like on the other side of this possibly is something more that I would like to explore.
Well, you go right to the heart of it. That you can hear that, is already quite something. That you can say, and I think honestly, that you know it perhaps by inference. Maybe by the repetition of satsang and hearing it over and over again. Just, it's a real blessing. So be in a posture of great gratitude for coming to a place where you can actually hear that without thinking, that's total nonsense. Because it's true on the other side of this, Krishna Priya, is something unimaginable, inconceivable. It's the want of wants. And all of the things that, all of the sages have always said, it cannot be said, it can't be known. But in a way, to know it by inference, that somehow in you, something in that seems to make sense, is very profound. And I will tell you, it's not possible to figure it out. So, you can relax. You see, the mind is a knot that cannot untie itself. You see? Any amount of wiggling you do tightens the knot, doesn't it? And anyway, the knot itself in the rope is insentient. So, shall we just play with it a little bit, just as a little bit of a mind bender, perhaps, in the hope that maybe it'll just fall away, or some gentle little fissure. You see, because the you that you think you are is indeed a thought, regarding a thought. It was Andrew who introduced this word recursive to me. which is perfect. It's the perfect word because it's exactly how it is. It's a reflection regarding a reflection. Not knowing the source of light. The ego is you could say it's a bit like a two-way mirror. Huh? Itself a reflection and something looking through it that cannot be perceived. Regarding its own self. Calls itself I. You see, the important thing to know is this is a great relief. Means there's nothing for you to do. In your searching, there's nothing you will find. You can relax. Which rope, which knotted coil of rope is easier for a fisherman to untie? One that has been under great tension, between dock and boat. One that's been soaking in salt water and then drying and then soaking again. A rope under tension or a rope that's just sort of loosely lying on the deck. You see, so you could say this is your work, is to soften and allow, to loosen up, to relax. You see, because the rope cannot untie itself, and the mind can't know anything but mind. Mind cannot peer beyond mind. It's not possible. And in the cessation, in the recognition of this, and the cessation of the I know thought, at the end of right and wrong, the end of I'm right, this is the dawn of knowingness. It's the beginning of Satchitananda. You trade an eye for an eye. It's a good exchange. Fool's gold for the real thing. And so that the ego itself is actually truly nothing more than a collection of thoughts that somehow in a lattice, in a matrix of reflectivity, we call it memory in a way, to be super simple about it, let's just call it memory. This one who calls herself Krishna Priya is a memory that walks and talks with attractions and aversions based on memory, based on past experience, based on interpretation of past experience. Remember, in this reflectivity of mind, a reflection regards a reflection. That reflectivity becomes recursive, infinitely. But the source of reflectivity is light itself. And this is the unimaginable thing, is that is primarily what you are before you lost yourself in reflection. So reflect on that. And you said, it's uncomfortable, I think, maybe is the word you used, disturbing. Yes, of course, because you know what it means. It means death. It's the fear of actual, worse than death, non-existence, you see. But it's not true. How could you be non-existent? What could ever know I do not exist? It's not possible. Existence is, isn't it? By definition. There is not anything called non-existence. How could it be? How could non-existence exist? You're in no peril here, is my point. There's no peril. Isness is. It is never isn'tness. You see? Is this like just a jigsaw puzzle of words? Probably not for you. There's no peril. The death of that identity thought is the very thing that you're seeking for. This is the moth to the flame. And it is liberation from suffering. Then really all your only job is to let it be. Let it go. Soften and allow. Everything is being taken care of already. It has never been any different, and it has never been you doing it. This ego has never once contributed to isness. Never upheld it. And isness never needed any of us to defend it or promote it. Recruiting believers. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with the play, I think, but not for you. Don't be in that game. Be in the game of freedom. The freedom is upon recognition, let's just say, for a lack of a better word that comes to this mind. Upon your recognition, you will see that there was no one who ever suffered. I think on Friday we were talking about who suffers? Who's clinging? There was one comment on YouTube, and I rarely reply, but it was a bit of fun. And I said, I don't remember what the question was, but I remember I replied. I said, the real question is, what is the desire of the questioner? Why is the questioner asking? What motivates, what inspires the question? And where is the questioner asking from? Go find this one. Go looking for this me that you say you are. There's that beautiful quote. I went seeking God and found only myself over and again. So then I went seeking me and found God. Spoiler, this me cannot be found. You see, to the ego, and to the one clinging to identity as subject in the world, in relationship to the world, and has some sense of relationship and clinging to that, this one doesn't want to hear anything that I'm saying. I don't think anybody's dropped off yet. But that would be the reasonable response to all of this. For someone clinging to that is, I'm out of here. This guy's absolutely crazy. The mind might even just go, Mooji talks about it actually, when he finally dares to present his question to Papaji. How does it go? To the best of my recollection, from what I have heard Mooji say, is that he didn't read much, if at all. I know that he found the Gospel of Ramakrishna in a bookstore in England, and then that is what led him, I think, to India, if I remember properly. And I think I remember him saying, if a book didn't have pictures, it was pointless. He's an artist, you may know. And he said, if I remember correctly, he said he rarely understood anything that was being discussed in satsang, but just was drawn to be there. He's saying he was not an intellect. He was not a jnani. He was a sweet soul. But one day, anyway, he mustered the courage to present his question in writing, which is how it was done then. And Papaji reads it, and he says, in order for you to be free, you must disappear. And Mooji says he just had a ringing in his ears. Have anybody had this? I know some people have talked about being in satsang or in conversation, and all of a sudden the muda overtakes, the tamas overtakes, and it's like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 right? Can't hear a word I'm saying, because the ego is in full flight. Shuts the ears down, shuts the mind down, full, they call it rope-a-dope in boxing, where you just, a last defense. And so this happens to Muji, and and but he's also very angry because, what kind of instruction is this? I must disappear, or what kind of acrobatics nonsense is this? And he says, I'm out of here. And he was so angry, and he went to his room to pack his bags. And he said it was so hot that day in Lucknow. So hot. And he was so angry, so frustrated. And he decided to leave wherever it was he was staying, to just go get a cold drink. And he was standing under a tree, and the words of his guru penetrated the mind, despite the mind's defense. On the other side of on the other side of that disturbance, that frustration, on the near side of the you that you think you are, before the veneer, the presentation of you, the thought that calls itself I, before that, imagine it this way. It's like, it's a bit like each person is like a soap bubble. Huh? Big ones, big soap bubble. And each one is just, they think their entire being is the sudsy film. And so constricted in such a tight, two-dimensional, almost two-dimensional space. But this is the visible part of a bubble, isn't it? And this is the ego. The ego sees from there and is seen as that by other egos. But what you don't realize, the vast, powerful, blissful emptiness that is you behind the sudsy veneer. And that vast empty space that is you is not different than the vast empty space that is me and everyone else on the Zoom call. The same space. In Vedanta, it's often referred to as cup space. I'm calling it bubble space. So that bubble sort of encases the space, but you see the encasing space is also surrounded by space. Same space. First, we have the sense of being aware of the space. The space seems like an object in our perception. We're the subject and the space is the object. But there's a sense sometimes they swap. And there's a sense sometimes they merge, isn't it? What happens when... What's lost? What's gained? Like a bubble on the ocean. There's this great bhajan in the Shivananda tradition, and it says, once a tiny drop and now the mighty sea, O Lord, I'm one with thee. Krishna is the ocean, Krishna is the ocean. Huh? Once a tiny drop and now the mighty sea, O Lord, I'm one with thee. Jesus is the ocean. Shiva is the ocean. Buddha is the ocean. Huh? And is going to happen. It's going to happen to you. It's a certainty. You may take issue with the timing of it. Sometimes it will be happening too quickly and sometimes too slowly. So, Krishna Priya, this thought is the bubble, the I thought. And there's no problem. A bubble is beautiful, isn't it? It's no mistake that children love it so much and adults love to see it so much. It's so beautiful. Because in a bubble, it reflects the entirety of its environment, doesn't it? It's so marvelous. This just bubbles. Huh? Indra's net of jewels. A kaleidoscope of perfection. No problem. You could say, let's just boil it down. Thought identification is suffering. And look at the world running around. So eager to share what they think. Okay. Mind is past. Mind is moon. Mind is moon. Moon is reflected light of the sun. Yes. It's like a two-way mirror. You just look from the other side and you'll see. All of the difficulty, all of the struggle, all of the seeking, all of the attraction and aversion, the promoting and defending, all of this comes from thought identification, mind identification, body identification. Have you played with this geometry, that body exists in mind, not the other way around? Yes, of course you have. Body is a product of mind. Thought is a product of mind. Time and space even, mind. Not a problem. Mind is past, and you are not past. Never have been. Identity is past. I'm right refers to past, yes. I know refers to past, doesn't it? But you've never once been past. It's not possible. It's literally impossible. You belong to now. You are now itself. And now has never been in jeopardy. Never once been buffeted by past. Can you see it? Like, in your own experience, can you see that all of the suffering, all of the challenge, the figuring out, the seeking, all of it comes from something that isn't now? That mind in past is like something like resentment or some disturbance, some memory, something was wrong. And maybe it was. But where is it now? Or even, something pleasant. You might call it some nostalgia, some pleasant memory, fond memory. Babaji went to Ramana Maharshi, and he was, he said, probably not bragging, but what he said to Ramana was, Bhagavan, when I was a boy, Krishna used to manifest in form and play with me. I suspect, it was probably true, in the way that, in the relative. And Ramana Maharshi says, where's he now? Do you see him now? Are you playing now? And so that's past, resentment and nostalgia, and then imagination, which is future, largely past, reinvented, regurgitated. Derivative, derivative. Recursive. And we experience this as anticipation, something to look forward to, and dread. These are let's just say, I don't know, but let's just say, maybe let's call these 4 corners of mind. Past and future. Past is resentment and nostalgia. Future is anticipation and dread. Imagination. Memory and imagination. Imagination comes from memory. It's past. It's like, it's just past. So none of them are now. Maybe we hear it so much, be here now, Ram Dass, the power of now, Eckhart Tolle. Maybe we hear it so much that it's just become a concept. Before the concept of now. Not the now of the mind. Not the now that isn't the 4 corners. Not the antithesis of, not a juxtaposition of past and future. In this moment, and see and be totally accepting of all of the distractions. Because it's usually in this moment, you'll need to add something to your list for the day, or you'll have to go to the bathroom, or you'll go to check and see if the stove is still on. when I know falls away, knowing begins. You have never once actually been who you think you are. It's never been true. Also, no one else has ever been who you thought they were. And all of the thinking has never once had any influence on the truth. No opinion that you've ever cherished has amounted to anything relative to the truth. And no belief you've ever held no debate has ever influenced the truth. No argument, no war. The truth does not need you to uphold it. Doesn't need you to believe it. this you can just retire. So, home. Cup space. Space within, space without. What's the container? What's the border between in and out in space? Bubble space. What is this you that you think you are? This you that is the boundary between inside and outside. And by what do you think that you're the boundary? Huh? Sam says, that reminds me of an Alan Watts quote, you define something not on its own or in its relationship to something else, but by its relationship to everything else. He's so great, isn't he? Yeah. What an incredible mind. It's true, isn't it? You know, there's the I sense, huh? And then there's everything else. And all of the senses will reinforce this. This is why awareness is so powerful. Because the practice of awareness, you know, eventually we just, more and more we come to see we're seeing. I see. The eye sees. Now, this space, those who are in it, watch also from this now for the phenomenon called boredom. Hmm? Hmm? Where the mind wants to move towards something, something next. Is even distractible. And what is this? What is the relationship between peace and boredom? we explored this recently, even the objectless mind has a momentum. The current below the waves in the ocean. And it starts with what now? Huh? What now? What next? Huh? No next. No next. No and then. No and then. The movement, the objectless, the, the, the movement may continue in a way, but it's, you're not looking at what it's moving toward. It's just flow. Flow. But not away and not toward. Huh? So what now? What's next? What? Even just the tiniest drop of now. What does it need? What do you need to add to it? What's missing? Is it now something you need to hold onto so it doesn't run away? Huh? Where would it go? Where could now go? Could it run from you? Slip through your hands? And then in this matures, this practice, this sense of coming into closer and closer proximity to now. This sense of abiding in it increasingly. Huh? This is just, it's part of the trajectory of experience. But in time, with some gentle and persistent practice, you'll be home in it. And you'll always be home. You'll always be home in it. And no matter if the mind moves to the future or mind reflects on past, you never left. Because you're not identified with the thought, with the mind. You can walk and talk. You can go to work. You can get married and have children. And you're never anywhere other than home, no matter where you go. Delhi or Doha. I told some of you, I went to Gangotri in Uttarakhand, and I'd been wanting to go for so many years. Something about it just really drew me towards it. And so I bathed in the Bhagirati, and then I went for a nice, maybe 40 minutes or an hour walk, a gentle hike through the woods to go to what's called Pandava Cave, Pandava Gufa, where apparently the 5 Pandava brothers were for some time, I don't know how long. And I stopped and I looked around, and I think it was the most beautiful place I'd ever been. About halfway between my bath in Bhagirati and Pandava Cave, not having quite reached it yet. And I thought, this is more beautiful than the Alps, this is more beautiful than the Rockies, that river is, everything was more stunning than anything I'd ever experienced. And simultaneously, it fell flat. Because what was happening inside was so much more beautiful. Was so much more profound. And in that moment, for me, there was a little bit of grief. Just a little bit of sorrow. The subtle passing of the experiencer, the enjoyer. But you see, it's not because It wasn't the best because it was the best. And it didn't need to be rejected, you see. And the grief itself, in a way, was kind of absurd. Because there was nobody really grieving. But there it was, simultaneously. And this happens to us over and over and over again as we expand more and more. As we dissolve more and more. There's so many layers of that as they fall away, there's a sense of sadness, a sense of dying. But nothing of actual value is lost in it. And
Nataraj, we are at time, just so you know.
And in the relative, it is better. Thank you, love. Thank you. Nothing of lasting value is lost. There was something that looked like I really wanted to give it some attention. Johnny writes, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Beautiful. Thank you, Johnny. Okay. Om. Om, om, om. So, thank you, thank you. Thank you to Muji Baba. Thank you to Alan Watts. I think we mentioned Ram Dass and Eckhart Tolle. Thank you to all of you. And welcome, welcome. All are welcome. All are welcome, and none are obliged in any way, shape, or form. Obliged to nothing, by anything, truly. And love you.